episode 273. Man, oh man, we're feeling good. Great to be back here
Yes.
inside the Crazy Ant Farm. Oh my goodness. So, to give you all a little life update, had some moving going on and a couple of other things in development as far as our film, trying to figure that out. So, man, we've been rocking and rolling recently just with life, company, the stars, the sky, the ground, the sea, all of it. We're doing it.
Yes. We're going to finish the year strong. I like the direction that we're headed. Everything is in good path. Lots of the strikes. There was so much going on in our personal lives and in the business side of it. It really kind of threw the middle quarters off. But we're finishing out strong with this final quarter. We're excited about it. We're getting some guests back on the show for y'all. They're finally available to start doing some stuff. So you're going to have some guests coming up. And man, I'm excited. Feels good to be back. And this is my favorite time of year. This is my favorite time of year. It always
Yeah,
is.
most definitely. I mean, it's a freaking fantastic time of year. We're heading into the holiday season. Everybody's just always happier in the holiday season, that's for sure. But I mean, of course, we got the Oscar contenders. We got the everything else that's going down. Honestly, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. But we're super excited to dive into all of that. But that is right now. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the three biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching nonstop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness. Like I said earlier, 273, and you guys know your host with the most, myself, J-Lo Fantastic, and the one and only Mao.
What's up?
Man, oh man, we're super excited about this show because we're going to be touching on topics that we have already touched on before, but giving you a little update on things like the Green Lantern series. We found a couple of our Green Lanterns, so that's very exciting, and speculation about some more. So I'm super excited to dive deep into that. We're going to be talking all about what we think the Oscars are going to nominate. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's been kind of a quiet season. I'm not even going to lie to you. So we're going to dive deep into that and a couple of other things happening in the entertainment industry because you guys know if it's happening in the entertainment industry or in Hollywood, we are reporting on it. If you are new to the show, thank you for coming. And if you are a returning guest, thank you for being here as always and supporting us in any way you can. And then, of course, another way to support us is just by leaving a rating on this show. Because if you comment down below, tell us what you actually think about this podcast, because leaving a rating on this podcast actually helps it get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry.
Facts.
And man, oh man, we're here for the lending the helping hand. That's for sure. But before we dive deep into the industry news, we just want to say, be sure to check out our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We got a little bit of everything for a little bit of everyone. So be sure to check that out. It's a great freaking time. And if you go to our website, you learn all about our film projects, us as individuals, our team, everything that we have going on here at Crazy Ant Media. That's what we are here for.
Yes.
But first of all, we're going to start off with the hurricanes, okay? There's literally a hurricane season. If people all across the country, around the world don't know, there is a hurricane season that happens. And especially down here on the Gulf Coast and Florida and now North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta, everywhere has been hit by a couple of different hurricanes this past year, very much right back to back. It's been kind of crazy. Helene happened a week or two ago, and now we're getting prepared for Milton. I believe it has already made
Yep.
landfall in Florida. So, we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to that. And if you guys don't know, we are currently suspending fundraising for our film projects because we want everybody to just focus on that. Focus on the people that need it the most. Send whatever you can. We have a couple of different organizations that we support, so we want to make sure we put all of our time and effort into promoting that so that those people, like I said, can get the funds and the supplies they need to continue moving forward, because we're humans first and foremost. So we just want to bring a little humanity to the world that can be a little dark sometimes. So,
Yeah.
but we've also seen some other things like Disney World, Universal being closed in Florida. 40 AMC Regal Cinemark cinemas closed in Florida. And I mean, of course, that's going to affect the box office. I know there's been some flops over the past couple of weeks while we've been out, but with this, Florida's a big state and they bring in a lot of numbers. So
They do.
it's unfortunate for the entertainment industry, who is already trying to rebound after COVID, after the strikes. There's a lot happening because, we see the oversaturation with television, but we see the underwhelming amount of films that are not performing well at
Yeah.
the overwhelming amount of films that are not performing well at the box office. So it's definitely a rough time to be in the entertainment industry. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you are in that area, good luck trying to find a movie. If you're not familiar, guys, where Milton hit and where Helene hit just a couple of weeks before that, it's the Sarasota area, where Tampa, Sarasota, Orlando, that whole vicinity in that area. And as of today, looking on the day that we're recording this, only 5 theaters are open. And that area it's a slam packed with theaters. So only 5 being open is that's rough. And so Disney World and Universal have both opened today. They reopened today, but both have said they are not fully functioning. They are not fully operational. So they're open, but not every ride is available. Not everything that you're used to is up to speed yet. So and if you guys know, I mean, for both Universal and for Disney, the parks generate a lot of revenue for them. So anytime they have to close the parks, that's a big dent in the revenue that they bring in, even if it's just for a few days. So that kind of, I have this question, and I'm curious to hear your response on it. And for the listeners out there and for the watchers out there, comment, tell us what you think. Did they need to open this quickly just a couple days afterwards? I mean, I understand the loss of potential revenue, but you've got people that don't have homes anymore. There's 3 million people in that area without power. There's no debris all over the place. Like there's so much going on. Do we need to go to Disney World? Or should we be focused more on, instead of opening the parks back up, what can we do for the community? I feel like the effort should be more of what can we do. On the website, I saw Disney, they put out our hearts go out to everybody affected by the storm who's lost so much. Okay, but now you want them to come spend money they don't have, and they don't have homes anymore, and they don't have all this, and come to Disney World, where you just raised the prices, by the way? That's my thought. I'm like, did we need to open them just a couple days after the storm, or could have it waited a little bit, and could have Disney and Universal gotten out maybe into the community and done a little something? These are experts at building, right? Disney World, if you guys don't know, they knew when they built it there that hurricanes come there a lot. So the engineers that built that place, there's a reason the castle never gets blown down. There's a reason why all these, it's hurricane safe. They get a little damage here, a little damage there. Think about what that technology and those engineers and those builders that maintain Disney World and Universal could quickly rebuild communities, could help go, next time we build a house, it needs to be like this. Next time we do this, I just feel like, maybe that's the effort that should be made instead of, hey, let's open the parks and have people come back. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with every other big company that is not solely focused on revenue, but I mean that's the bottom line is the bottom line. They
Right.
want to be in the black no matter what. So I mean, sometimes I feel like it can be a little blinding. Just trying to make sure that you meet this month's quota, which I feel like again takes away from the humanities part of it.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, I feel like a lot of big companies are to blame for that because they're so worried about this and that. But it's like at the same time, actors, executives, all those people that are in the entertainment industry are getting an obscene amount of money. So it's one of those things that you teeter totter and you look at it and you're like, yes, I want to get to that point. But then at the same time, you will look at it on the other hand and you're like, okay, is it a little too much? Is it a little too extensive? You don't need that bonus twice a year of,
Right.
$2.5 million. It's one of those things where you have to think more like a human being and less like a businessman when Mother Nature calls. So I think that's the biggest thing.
And here's where we're at in society, though, right? Because if you are an entertainer, if you are somebody that has wealth and you do the humane thing, you do the right thing, it's not good enough. Literally, Taylor Swift, y'all, donated $5 million to help rebuild communities, and she got hammered for it. Well, you're a billionaire. All you could do is $5 million? What? This woman gave $5 million to help build communities back up, and you're criticizing her? That is absurd. So that too makes it like, why would a Disney or somebody do something if they're going to take backlash for it? That just makes no sense. Where are we at as a society that we criticize someone for doing something like that and say it's not good enough? It's not, that's mind-boggling to me. I think, by the way, guys, if you don't know, she donates to like things all over. She pays people's hospital bills. She does all this stuff that you never even hear of in the press, right? So you don't know how much money she's given away or not given away. She does things all the time. So to criticize her for not enough, I just, be better. We've got to be better than that. That's all I'm saying. And, I guess we'll end it on this because I want to do the flip side too, because we're always trying to keep it balanced, right? I get that going to Disney World or Universal or going to the movies, it's an escape. It's an escape from reality. And it might be for those 2 hours a way to forget all the bad stuff in that community of what's going on and what's happened, and just a way to momentarily escape real life. And I get that. That is crucially important. That's one of the main things that the entertainment industry provides, is that escape for everybody, right? A chance to live in a world that's not real and forget about everything that's going on in society. And every now and then we need that. So I don't want to say there's not a need for that. I'm just saying the timing of it. What's a couple more days? I just that's all I'm saying. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying there's not a need for that escape or a need for what they provide. I'm just saying it, just balance it a little better is all I'm saying.
Yeah, most definitely. And Disney's got some stuff going on, right?
They do. I'm excited about this. If you guys didn't see it, Anne Hathaway very cleverly on social media announced it is happening. It's legit, and everybody's excited about it, except apparently Chris Pine, who claims he had no idea it's even happening. The Princess Diaries 3 is officially greenlit. It is officially in motion. It's in development now with Adele Lim set to direct. And obviously, since Anne announced it, she's coming back. Duh. Julie Andrews is coming back. She's hinted at it a long time. I think this was long in the waiting. Everybody's been wanting this for ever. It's like, where are they now as full-grown adults? What's going on in their lives? How's it all playing out? This is a no-brainer. This is going to make a ton of money for Disney. I think it's going to be really good. But I am curious, because if you guys didn't know, Chris Pine got started a little later in his career, right? Daddy was in it for a while, but Princess Diaries, the first one, was his debut, his on-screen debut. So that was a while ago, but he was still a bit older. So I'm curious to see, is he coming back? Have they reached out? Is he not a part of it in this one? I'm really curious because I think a lot of people would definitely want him back. I mean, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's going to be a cool experience, to be able to see where they're at now, with, everybody being much older because, I mean, shoot, the first one came out 15, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah.
I mean, it's a very long time, but I mean, it's another example of, things that I've posted about recently of just going back to the established IP that is very beloved, which is understandable at this point in time in the entertainment industry, but it's still annoying. But I mean, I think this will be good because everybody loves the Princess Diaries. It's a very, very, very niche group audience that I feel like, especially for young women, they are going to gravitate towards this, especially to the ones who weren't necessarily around for the first two. So I think that'll be a very interesting thing. Hopefully they can get like a social media trend going because that, I mean, if you don't have a social media trend on TikTok, like you're not really going anywhere. You got to be everywhere. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'm really excited to see like the main cast come back. So that's going to be very exciting.
It's funny you said social media trend because for anybody who knows the movie, really one of the key phrases on it was "shut up." And she did that in the announcement, but that would be a really cool little TikTok trend if they started Princess Diaries 3 kind of thing and everybody was showing their shut up reactions to anything that's going on in life. Somebody just cuts it to shut up. So there you go. They've already got a built-in one they can use. I mean, just, every day somebody does something where you're like, shut up. So,
Exactly.
So, I mean, there you go. You got to kind of do it. I'm just saying it.
Exactly. But this next one, I'm very curious to get your thoughts on, and I've seen some different stuff on social media over the past couple days because, I mean, the Oscars this year, I've heard through the grapevine that ABC is kind of worried. I mean, award shows already have very bad viewership. You don't have a Barbie, you don't have Oppenheimer, you don't have something that's like global tentpole type film that has really been presented to us yet that is considered Oscar worthy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So I'm curious to see your thoughts and opinions on this. I wanted to go through our 2024 films that have been released so far.
Oh my gosh.
That could potentially be Oscar contenders. And I'm in April right now, and I can send you this list real quick.
Oh, I've got a list. I've got a list. Yeah, I have a list of all.
I'm in April, and I've only seen 2 so far, and that is Civil War. I think Civil War should definitely be nominated. I think they should definitely re-release because if you guys don't know, for Oscars, if they release in the fall time, that's really the Oscar window, so that voters can have it fresh in their minds before they vote.
Yes.
And honestly, challengers. I think challengers
should be in the conversation.
Cinematography, and Zendaya. Zendaya freaking killed it.
Oh, without doubt.
Film. But while I continue to go through, you can go ahead and list some of yours that you think would be good.
So this is the complete list of every movie that is eligible to be nominated. And not all of these have been released yet, though. Some of them have, some of them haven't. It's Alien Romulus, All We Imagine Is Light, Anora, The Apprentice, Baby Girl, Back to Black, Beetlejuice, Better Man, Between the Temples, The Bike Riders, Bird, Blink Twice, Blitz, Bob Marley, One Love, The Book of Clarence, The Brutalist, Carville, Challengers, Civil War, The Colors Within, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, The Count of Monte Cristo, Daddy-O, Daughters, Day of the Fight, Deadpool and Wolverine, The Deliverance, Despicable Me 4, A Different Man, Dee Dee, Drive Away Dolls, Dune Part 2, Elton John, Never Too Late, Amelia Perez, The End, Evil Does Not Exist, Exhibiting Forgiveness, Fancy Dance, The Fire Inside, Firebrand, Flow, Frida, The Front Room, Furosha, Gladiator 2, Hard Truths, Here, Heretic, His Three Daughters, Hitman, Horizon and American Saga, I Am Celine Dion, I Saw the TV Glow, I'm Still Here, The Idea of You, If, The Imaginary, In the Summers, Inside Out 2, It Ends With Us, Janet Planet, Joker Folie À Deux, Kind of Kindness, Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, Kneecap, The Last Showgirl, Longlegs, Friskus, Love Lies Bleeding, Maria, Megalopolis, Memoir of a Snail, Moana 2, Monkey Man, The Most Precious Cargoes, Mothers, Mufasa, The Lion King, My Old Ass, Nickel Boys, Night Bitch, Nuferato, Oh Canada, The Piano Lesson, Parent Nope, The Outrun, Place by Place. Now, I could go on and on, guys. There's about another 25.
How long are we going to go?
Wicked, We Grow Now, Wallace and Gromit, Venom, Young Woman in the Sea. My point is that I was trying to get those in is because, like you said, how many of those have you actually seen? Right? All of these movies are eligible, but how many have people actually seen on that list? I mean, that's like...
Well, I mean, that has nothing to do with it.
No,
because
totally.
A lot of people a lot of films that get nominated, I mean, people have never
don't
seen,
see.
But
Exactly.
I'm just trying to talk about the films that we have seen that we think should get nominated.
I think there's a couple on there. I think that The Bike Riders... probably somebody out of there, acting-wise, I think. Maybe not Best Picture, but maybe acting-wise. I'm going to say right now, I loved Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse, but that was phenomenal. I think that should definitely get some. I agree with you with both Civil War and Challengers. I think, no doubt. The Complete Unknown, I haven't seen it yet, but that's a given. That's the one with Timothée Chalamet about Bob Dylan. I can't imagine that that's not going to get a nomination.
I think Megalopolis will get nominations just because it's weird, it's out there, it's very film friendly for that group.
Yeah.
So I do think that's going to get nominated as well.
I would agree with that. I think that's probably good. And because, juror number 2, this is it or is it not? But it is supposedly Clint Eastwood's swan song, his Goodbye. Do you nominate the guy for Best Picture or Best Director because it's his way out? I mean, the guy is nearly 100 years old and it's his swan song out. I feel like that's going to probably get a nomination. And I feel
like you have to.
Yeah. Young Woman and the Sea, if you guys didn't see it, that's the one with Daisy Ridley with the true life story of the first woman across the channel. Brilliant movie. Keep in mind, guys, a lot of these, like Hitman, a lot of them only played in theaters to get the qualifications to get nominated for an Oscar, and then they were on streamers. So that's why you probably maybe didn't see them. And I'm just going to say this. You and I saw it, and I cried my eyes out, and I think it's a shoo-in for feature-length documentary, but I also think it deserves a nod for Best Picture. And I'm talking about Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. It's brilliantly done. The way it was directed, the cinematography, the visual effects, just everything about it was spot on. I think it's a shoo-in for a nomination for feature-length documentary, and I think it's probably going to win. But I think you give it a nod for Best Picture too.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty good. Yeah, I cried 3 times, and I know you cried an uncountable amount of times. But yeah, it's really freaking good. Another one on this list, too, that I think Nicolas Cage should get nominated for, and I'm not a Nicolas Cage fan, but Longlegs.
Oh, yeah,
The more I sat with Longlegs, the more I liked it. It's one of those that you do walk out, and you're like, okay, what is happening? But filmmaking wise, it really is like a pure pice of art.
Without doubt.
Like you do walk out kind of confused, and it's a conversation starter. So you talk about all these things, but yeah, the more it sat with me, I enjoyed it. And Nicolas Cage is creepy as shit in that film.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a down year for the Oscars, man. I don't think that there's not that one big blockbuster film that will draw people. I mean, maybe if you try with Alien Romulus, because that one's pretty good, and I mean, a good amount of people saw it, especially overseas. But right now, I just don't think that from the films that we have seen so far, it's still, we're gonna see a huge drop off in viewership as far as ABC. I do think Saturday night, because they changed I do think Saturday night's gonna get nominated. It would be awesome if The Apprentice got nominated as well, because that looks amazing.
Yeah.
But just looking forward, right now I think ABC is worried about viewership.
Well,
I've heard they're running around trying to figure out how to make it great, and they still don't have a host.
No, and the rumors are that they're trying to lock down Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. That's how desperate they are for ratings. That would make sense that they're trying to get that duo to host it, because that chemistry and them together. But I mean, that shows you how much they're worried about ratings. I just looked up, and so if you want, we can close it out with. But here's the odds right now, the Vegas odds, the ones. This is what they think the current predicted nominees for Best Picture: Amelia Perez from Netflix, The Brutalist from A24, Gladiator 2 from Paramount, Anora from Neon, Conclave from Focus, Blitz, which is an Apple film, The Room Next Door, Sony, A Complete Unknown, Searchlight, Saturday Night, and Dune Part 2. Those seem to be the 10 odds-on favorites to get the nod for Best Picture nominations based on out of Vegas right now. And then the ones right in the wings, like possibly maybe to squeak in there and bump one of those. The Seed of the Sacred Fig, I'm Still Here, Sing Sing, The Wild Robot, Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 seems like a given. That's going to win for Best Animated Picture, I think. September 5th, Wicked, The Piano Lesson, and The Apprentice. So, we'll see. I mean, right? It's going to be a very interesting... I'm right there with you, man. I think that at least out of the ones we've seen, I don't know, man. I don't know. But... yeah. It's pretty rough. I mean, I just, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a good year for viewership. I really think that they're going to have to pull one out of their ass for this. And I forgot about Wicked. Wicked's still coming out too. And then we also have Moana 2 as well. So Disney versus Disney, because it's either going to Moana 2 or Inside Out 2. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. But I heard this through the grapevine about ABC, and I just thought it was interesting because ever since Jimmy Kimmel said he wasn't doing it again this year, and with there not being huge blockbuster films that are critically acclaimed, I was just like, man, it's a great point. It's a great point. I think it's going to be a lackluster year. And which the pressure's on, because if you remember, and we talked about this a few weeks ago on the show, for the first time in many, many years, the Emmys, the primetime Emmys, saw a bump in the ratings. They, for the first time in a very long time, went up in the ratings by a significant jump. But I think that's because, unlike the film side, TV side was just blowing up. I mean, with Shogun and The Bear and like all these huge... TV's been killing it lately. There's been some really great stuff. So the pressure is now on with the Oscars going, oh shit, the Emmys went up. What do we do? How do we match that? So I don't know, man. I don't know. Good luck. That's all I can say to ABC. Good luck. For sure. Well, I mean, Warner Brothers had a big fumble, right? Woo! Horrible fumble, you guys. We called this, though, right? Like, the second they announced that Joker 2 was going to be a musical, I was like, what the fuck? No. And I was against it from the get-go. And apparently, everybody agrees, because it stumbled horribly. Now, if you guys don't know, Joker, Folie À Deux, $190-something million budget, almost $200 million before marketing and distribution. So probably somewhere in the $240 million range, okay? In order to break even, it has to make double that just to break even. And then it has to go into profit well down the line. Well, guess what? It made $37 million on the opening weekend. This movie will not be profitable for Warner Brothers. It will, because it's going to die. If it's even in the top 5 this weekend, I would be shocked. It came out with $20 million on Friday, quickly dropped to 17, and then down to 11. It was awful. I mean, that was like, dum, dum, dum. Normally you pick up on Saturday and then see a level off on Sunday, but it just nosedived on Saturday, meaning the people that saw it on the Thursday night previews on Friday fucking hated it. It's 33% and 31% on Rotten Tomato between critics and fans, and Cinema Score was like a D-. People hate it. I mean, and I guess here's the confusing thing. And spoilers, I'm sorry guys, but spoilers. And I think this is playing massively into the stumble, though, of why people just aren't digging it. Apparently, it comes out that he's not Joker. He is not Joker. It was all a setup, apparently, for Heath Ledger's Joker. Apparently, Heath Ledger's Joker in Christopher Nolan's Batman was inspired to become the Joker because of Arthur Fleck. Now, there are rumors going about that before Nolan left, he heard about this film, did not like the ending, wanted no part of it, and demanded that it be changed. Is he responsible for this change that apparently we see Heath Ledger's Joker cut his face after we see a dead Arthur Fleck next to him? And that's what... Did he make that change? Did he not make that change? Is that just a rumor? Is it total book? We don't know, but we do know that Todd Phillips did clarify Arthur Fleck is not Joker. And the guy you see next to him at the end of the movie is. I think that just pissed people off. He doesn't end up... He professes his love, apparently, to Harley Quinn. He's all in. He just wants to be a normal guy and have a relationship and be in love with somebody that saw him for who he was. And she dumps him after he's not Joker. She's like, oh, you're not who I thought you were. Which blows the whole myth because Harley is in love with Joker even though he's Joker. Even though he is psychotic and treats her like shit. She's all in for him. So the idea that you're ruining that and saying he's not Joker and... I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just horrible.
It seems like a big old trash dumpster fire. I just went back and looked at the original, which, you know, Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for this film. And opening weekend for the original was $96 million.
Yeah.
So that's a huge drop off. And we've been seeing things all around now that even Joaquin thought the film was bad.
Yeah.
I saw, I think it was at TIFF, he looks over to Lady Gaga and says that was a bad film. And she's joking, and she thought he's joking and just like, are you serious? And he's like, no, yeah, that was a horrible film. So yeah, it's very unfortunate because, I mean, as someone who was very uncomfortable by the first film and didn't really like it, but because it's a lot to take on. I really kind of wanted to see the second one just as a filmmaker standpoint because it looked really good. Like it looked like it was shot very beautifully. But I mean, now with all the reviews and everything else that's going on, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait till it comes on a streamer and see it there. But yeah, it's very unfortunate because like I said, with it being the first one being critically acclaimed, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I've heard that Lady Gaga's like barely even in it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I'm just, what is happening here? I really don't get it. It's a big L for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot riding on that thing.
Yeah. They were banking on it from the first. I mean, the first one, remember guys, until Deadpool and Wolverine, the first Joker movie was the highest rated, highest money grossing R-rated movie in history. I mean, it made over $1 billion at the worldwide box office. It was huge. And I think they just thought this one was going to do that. And it's like, oops. I just, which is bad because, and I think this is why, because I recently saw that James Gunn has now said that moving forward, every single DC comic book movie is going to fall under the DCU banner Remember before they were saying Elseworld? It would be an Elseworld if it fell outside of it, like Joker kind of. He said moving forward, they are now all under the DCU banner. What does that mean? Does that mean now that Matt Reeves' Pattinson Batman is going to be under are they going to coexist with a different Batman? Because if you're not going to do Elseworld anymore, I'm not quite sure. Because he said over and over and over again, Pattinson's Batman, while he's a huge fan of it, is not his Batman. Well, then why are you saying you're taking away the Elseworld thing to separate it? That confuses me. I don't know what he means by that. My personal opinion, I think he should stick with Pattinson's Batman and make that the Batman in the DCU, because if you look at the massive success of that movie, and now you look at the massive success of Penguin, the number one show on television right now is Penguin. And it's loved by critics, it's loved by fans, it's killing it. I think people like that Batman. They like that Gotham City. They like that. And isn't the whole point of the Batman Superman dynamic is one is nothing but light and hope, and the other one is dark and brooding? It's the two very different people with the same goal. Well, you can't, if you look at Gunn's new Superman and you look at Pattinson's Batman with Matt Reeves, that's them. That's dark and brooding and bright and hopeful. Like, I don't know. That's what I think. But I think if you're going to continue to try to pull away from the comics like Joker 2 did, you're going to stumble. I don't think fans want that.
Well, I mean, especially if, that, like, I think, you bring in Matt Reeves' Batman. I think that would be very smart, especially because they don't seem like they ever want to do a Joker 3. So just have that be what it was, that standalone thing, and then just completely start over new with this. Because, I mean, from what I've never heard anyone, like, badmouth the Batman.
Yeah, no.
Like, people loved that film. So I just think it would only be smart. And I think Corn Sweat and Pattinson would work fantastic together. Later down the line. Of course, we can't rush that, DC. We can't rush that because we've seen how that happens before.
Right.
But I do think they would work well together, and I'm hoping that that would happen further down the line in the DC universe.
And they're similar in age. Corn Sweat, I think's a tad older, but that's what it's, because remember, Gunn has said that Superman in this new movie, he's already been Superman. It's not a year one type thing. He's been established. And Batman, we clearly saw in The Batman, it was only his first or second year in the cowl. He's still got, so that would make sense. And then if you recast Wonder Woman with like an Ana de Armas or somebody along that same age range, you have your Trinity, and they're all young enough that you could do it for the next 20, 30 years and you'd be fine, right? So I just feel like that's probably the direction I would go, but I'm not Gunn and I'm not Safran, so I don't know. But it just seems like a no-brainer to me. If something is working, don't break it. And Matt Reeves' Batman is working. So don't fuck it up. Just don't fuck it up. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. Well, something else that may or may not be working, we'll see how it turns out. Lanterns, they have finally cast their Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
Yes,
that is right. Kyle Chandler is going to be Hal Jordan. You know him from basically every television show ever, so he'll fit right into the format. And then we have Aaron Pierre as John Stewart, who I have never actually seen act before, so I went on to the handy-dandy IMDbPro app, the Bible, as we call it.
Yes.
Best known from The Underground Railroad,
Yep.
Brother, Genius, Rebel Ridge, and a couple of others. So I'm very curious to see what his work will be. As someone who is the big comic book fan that you are, what do you think about this casting?
I like the casting. Also, Aaron, for anybody who doesn't know, you're going to hear him real soon. He's the voice for young Mufasa in the Mufasa movie coming up. And he just got cast on the morning show, the new season of the morning show. So we'll get to see him a little bit. So he's rocking and rolling. I like this pick. I like Kyle Chandler. I've always been a fan of Kyle Chandler. I loved him on Friday Night Lights. I thought he was great on Mayor of Kingstown, and I like him. And he comes across as the old grizzled type that doesn't take a lot of shit. That's what I've always liked about Hal Jordan. He's cocky. He was a fighter pilot, and he didn't give a shit, and he's a cocky kind of a guy. And I feel like Kyle Chandler can kind of pull that off. I think he'll do really well there. Now, I like the look of Aaron. Like you, I haven't seen him in a whole lot of stuff, so I can't really gauge who he is as an actor or whatever. But I like the look. The two of them together, in at least the pictures that I've seen, they look the parts. That's a good looking Hal and John. So I think now if we can get the dynamic, which I think Kyle works well with just about everybody that he's ever been in anything.
Yeah.
With. So I feel like the camaraderie and the chemistry there is going to be good. And more information is coming about, this is going to be really interesting because they're billing it as like a true detective show as opposed to the Green Lantern Corps. They're space guard. They guard sectors of space, and obviously our Earth Green Lanterns, which now we have all three, Guy Gardner and John Stewart and Hal Jordan. They just Earth falls in the sector that they protect. Not just Earth. Their sector includes more than that, but Earth falls. But the premise of this story, from what I understanding, is they are investigating a crime in Middle America, like the Midwest. So it's going to be like a cop buddy show with two Green Lanterns in the Midwest. And I'm like, is that going to work?
I'm telling you, I think it's going to be very Star Trek-y. Just bouncing up and down, going case to case, kind of maybe being like a little anthology. Maybe each season will focus on a different Green Lantern. But I that's what I'm predicting. I think it's going to be very Star Trek-y. It looks like Aaron's only been working, or at least credited, since 2017.
Oh, so there you go.
This is a big role for somebody who is less than, or at least less than we know, 10 years in the game. So, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for him. So hopefully, nothing gets fumbled because this is a big project. Gunn and DC and Warner Brothers, they have a lot riding on this new DC universe. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it works.
And Gunn just this week, said that this particular series plays a pivotal role in the future of the DCU that he's building. Apparently something happens within this series that is a launching point and a plot that develop further into the rest of the DCU. So what that means or doesn't mean, I don't know, but clearly, like you said, they are planning this on this series being very important to the future of the rest of the DCU that they're building. So yeah, that's a lot. I'm glad that you brought that up, what you said about Aaron, though, because that plays so well with Hal Jordan John Stewart, right? Kyle Chandler's been doing it forever. He's seasoned pro. He's like, and now you got a newbie that's only been around a couple. So that dynamic of the mentor student kind of, it almost works in real life. So that's going to be interesting to see if that dynamic follows through into the show and the characters. I think that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Completely agree. Well, we're heading over to NBC Universal, where we did finally see Christopher Nolan does have his eyes on his next big film project. And of course, he's setting it for IMAX. That's the only way to see a film, he says.
Yes.
But I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense because, I mean, his films are so in-depth, so grainy. They are shot for this specific screen, so it only makes sense. He's eyeing the summer of 2026 at a release date, like I said, for Universal. And he's in talks to have Matt Damon to star. We don't know. He hasn't locked that down yet, but he's wanting Matt Damon to star. Now, what Christopher Nolan's done a whole bunch of different things, right? He went to the superhero genre. He's always made you think with his films like Tenet or Inception or Interstellar and Oppenheimer. Where do we want to see Christopher Nolan go for his next film? Like, he did the historical piece with Oppenheimer, but now with Matt Damon is very versatile. I feel like he can do a lot of things. I would honestly, because of what we saw in Oppenheimer with the government being so involved and communists and things like that, I would love to see this film be a political movie. I think it would be a great time for it. We'll be coming right off an election. So I think that would be really cool. But I mean, Christopher Nolan, he's got so many different ideas and so many different avenues of life. So it's going to be very interesting. What do you think his next film should be about?
Okay, so I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan because he's old school, right? I love his techniques. I love the way he shoots. I love the way he approaches filmmaking and directing. I love that he still uses film instead of digital. And I pretty much have followed most of his career, and I love all of his films. And I'm sitting here trying to rack my head, and I can't think of one. And please, anybody out there, if I'm wrong, let us know. But I can't think of a comedy that Christopher Nolan has done. I would love to see Christopher Nolan take on a comedy. And Damon for sure could do a comedy. He's proven he is versatile. He could pull off a comedic type role in some sort. I would love to see how a mind like Christopher Nolan approaches comedy. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, because you brought it up, all of his movies are so serious in tone, right? Most of them. Mm-hmm. But every now and then he'll put a little comedic stuff in them. Like even in The Dark Knight, there's little comedic stuff. So I would just like to see his approach on a full-on comedy. Bring me a full-on comedy. Come on.
That would be so interesting.
Right?
I don't even know what that would look like.
Exactly. Exactly. But we do know Papsadero would cast the hell out of that. Because, I mean, he's brilliant at who he brings together for Nolan in these movies. So, yeah, who would Paps bring in for the comedy, and how would Nolan approach that? That's what I want to see. I want to see this brilliant filmmaker give us a comedy, man. I think that'd be stellar.
It really would. It really would. And I think he's found a new home with NBC Universal.
Oh, without doubt.
I think he's going to be there for a while. That's for sure.
I would predict that he will never go back to Warner Brothers as long as Zaslav is involved.
I agree.
If there's any hope for Nolan to ever fix that relationship and have a relationship with them again, it would have to be after Zaslav's exit, because I don't think that's a mended. I don't think it can be fixed.
Yeah,
I don't.
Most definitely. Well, speaking of other fumbles, a lot of fumbles have happened since we've been gone.
Yes.
It must be our luck. We have to come back around so we can bring the more light into the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Lionsgate, everybody knows Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis box office disaster, man. Now this, as of Wednesday, October 9th. This is the 13th day as of Wednesday, October 9th. It's only grossed a little tiny bit over $7 million. Now that is freaking rough, because the budget on this thing was stupid. I'm going to try to see if I can find it, but yeah, I know Francis Ford Coppola, he financed himself $120 million out of his own pocket.
And
so
guys,
that's rough.
If you guys aren't familiar, Francis Ford Coppola just doesn't have that kind of money laying around. He actually used his vineyards and wine company as collateral for that $120 million loan to finance this movie. So I've got a Coppola wine right up here. I'm a fan of Coppola wine, but we might not have Coppola wine anymore because this movie ain't paying that loan back. I'm a little worried about my Coppola wine. But I wanted to talk about this because because we can work in Kevin Costner and Horizon with this too. Is it worth it for these people to finance these things? I mean, Kevin Costner had to take out mortgages on his home and everything, and is talking about potentially losing his home. And these are huge people. I mean, when you talk about Francis Ford Coppola, that's fucking Godfather, y'all. That's like cinema royalty. You think that guy's going to make money no matter what he puts out. That's probably why he got the loan so easily. But is it worth the risk? I get passion projects. Costner said Horizon was a passion project. Coppola said this was a passion project. Is passion project worth losing everything you own to make it? Because I don't know, man. I think that... Look, George Lucas is the luckiest man ever in the deal that he pulled off, saying, I will finance it myself. You guys distribute it, and I'll bring all the profits in, and you go the piece of it or whatever. Guys, that's rare. That fucking never happens. Like, it just doesn't. And I think sometimes these filmmakers go, yeah, we'll pull off a Lucas. We'll be fine. No. Like, if you're doing a short film for 50 grand, go for all in, baby. But a $200 million movie, if you can't get a fucking studio to back that, don't do it. I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. It is rough. And just a few little trivia pieces that IMDbPro also provides.
Nice.
If you look up any of these films, Francis Ford Coppola wrote the script in the early 80s, but it was kept on the back burner partially due to his financial debts. Well, that sucks. Pre-production finally began in 2001 after filming 30 hours of the second unit footage and holding a table read with Paul Newman, Uma Thurman, Robert De Niro, James Gandolfini, Nicolas Cage, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, Eddie Falco, and Kevin Spacey. The project was scrapped after the September 11th attacks because of the scene from the script predicted the attacks. And if you have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. And it is kind of like that. It is kind of eerie, so that makes sense in that time period. And then Coppola fully abandoned this project in 2007 and then didn't begin developing it again until 2019. So that is absolutely crazy. And I mean, other people who were supposed to be involved, but difficulties with scheduling or anything like that: Oscar Isaac, Zendaya, Kate Blanchett, Michelle Pfeiffer, James Caan, Natalie Emmanuel, a lot of people, man. Christian Bale, he wanted that to be the lead role, cast in the lead role. Nikki Glaser, like a lot of people almost were in this film, and still a lot of people are in this film. That's probably what the majority of the budget went to, that and CGI.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the cast that he put in this thing is wild. But again, I think it's a very artsy friendly film. If freaking Shape of Water can win so many awards at the Oscars, I think this film can too, because it's like Longlegs for me, where the more I sit with it, the better it becomes, but I don't want to rewatch it. And I'll say that.
And see, and that's the thing though for me, and it's so funny listing those names. A lot of those people are dead, so that tells you how long that thing was gestating, right? But the point that you bring up, it probably is a great filmmaker film, right? Mm-hmm. And it could potentially win a lot of awards, but we all know that never translates to money. And never. To put up your own money on something like that, I feel like, and unfortunately, if you guys ever watched The Player, which was the making of The Godfather, they really kind of show you, when you said financial troubles, Coppola's a kind of like all over the place kind of guy. He's not like, you know, so I'm not surprised at all that he had financial troubles, throughout his life, because he's a risky kind of like fella. So even more so, I just feel like if you cannot get a studio to back this, and this is where I feel like Coppola failed, he's not that guy. He's not the pitch guy. He couldn't get the studio to back his artsy film, right? I feel like you don't make it then, right? Because it's you don't want to see a guy as legendary as Coppola go out on this. Even if it wins some awards, he's going to be bankrupt and washed up, and like, we might not ever see another movie out of him, because where's he going to be? And if that's the swan song, that breaks my heart, because this guy's one of the most talented filmmakers to ever exist. And this is a bad way to go out, man.
It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. And it's The Offer, not The Play.
The Offer. Sorry. The Offer. Yeah.
But just because we definitely want people to watch that. It's a great series.
Brilliant series.
It's amazing. Please go watch it. So yeah, I just wanted to correct that.
No, yeah. The Player's another industry movie with Tim Robbins. Yeah. The Offer.
But, like I said, I mean, it's weird. It's out there, but there's a lot of great cast members in it. And but as a filmmaker, you definitely should watch it. There's nods to so many different films like Citizen Kane, On the Waterfront, and a couple of others. So definitely check it out one time for the one time if you are very heavily involved in filmmaker films. I would definitely say that. Now we're gonna head over to Netflix, where John Mulaney is turning into their golden boy.
Oh yeah,
because they ordered another live weekly talk show for 2025. We don't have a lot of details about what that will look like yet, because we saw, last year, I believe it was, his talk show was very different. It went out into LA. It started talking to the people. It would bring people with him and come back on set and do different like activities and stuff. So I'm very curious to see if it will go to like the late night format, or if he'll continue kind of the same thing that he did with Late Night in LA, I think it was called.
yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a good move, because John Mulaney is a little bit everywhere right now. He just directed a comedy special for another comedian, which I thought was super cool. So yeah, man, I hope all the best. I love that he's staying busy, because as we know, he has had some drug problems. So I feel like him staying busy helps keep his mind right. So I'm pulling for him. He's great live. I got to see him live one time. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's with Olivia Munn, right? Isn't him and Olivia Munn are married, and they just had a baby, and she's just recovered from cancer. And so, yeah, they've had a lot going on, and it's nice to see that kind of a... I really think, though, this spawned from the huge success of David Letterman. And when David had him on as a guest on his, I think Netflix smartly saw that and was like, this might work with his own kind of a show. I think
it was like a domino effect, because after his comedy special came out about his drug usage, that blew up, and then led into the hour special with David Letterman, and then now into the different things. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful domino effect, because it's been an amazing couple of years for him.
It has been, and anybody that walks through the hardest times and makes the recovery and comes out better on the other side, you're always rooting for. You're always rooting for that, and he genuinely seems to be that. Another thing everybody's rooting for is this one's everywhere. Everybody is talking about this, and nobody is saying anything bad about it. Everybody loves it. I'm talking about nobody wants this, but apparently everybody wants it. It's already been renewed for season 2. They're already talking about season 3, which is just crazy. But if you guys haven't seen Nobody Wants This on Netflix, it's unbelievable. It's Adam Brody and Kristen Bell are like unreal. Their chemistry, I don't think anybody saw it coming. But the chemistry is just so real, and it's got Justine Lupe in it, and just so the cast is brilliant. But it's so well written and so well performed and so well directed and just real. It's like The Bear. It's that good. It's the quality level is like there. And it's just about two people coming from very different backgrounds trying to make it work. And this is somebody from a typically Christian background, although she's not religious, who's in love with a rabbi. And as you guys know, if you're Jewish and you're not Jewish, you're typically not allowed. So, they're trying to figure out how they do it. Will she convert to Judaism? Will she not? Is it worth it there? Kind of a thing. But the way, and I think this was needed because of all the anti-Semitism right now and all of the hatred towards the Jewish community and Jewish people right now. I think this was a show that just fell timely. And what I really like is that the showrunner did not change it to politicize it or make it a message-driven show to try to make you feel good about Jewish people. It's what she wrote it as before all the conflict, and it stayed that. And I think that's why it's so successful. This is just a rom-com about two people trying to figure out how to be in love with the very different backgrounds, and it works. I tell every single person, watch this show. And I'm just going to warn you all out there, it's a binger. Like, once you watch the first episode, you'll have to watch the second. And then so pick a weekend and just go. Just because you're not going to stop watching it. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. You won't. If you have something you have to do, this is not the show. Pick a weekend when you got some hours and just binge watch it, because it's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it's just a 30-minute episode type thing. So, yeah, you can go through it. And I love Adam Brody, so I love that he's getting the success and the recognition, too, because that man's been in it for a long time. People don't even realize he's been in it for a long time.
OC.
So freaking seeing that.
Dave! He was Dave on Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
so many things, you know. He left Gilmore Girls.
First thing I ever saw him in was a skateboard movie called Grind.
Yes.
And I fucking loved that film.
Yeah.
And then when he popped up in Gilmore Girls,
Yep.
when I saw that for the first time, I was like, this is great. But yeah, he's a phenomenal actor that nobody talks about enough.
No, agreed. Oh my gosh, I saw he finally did a movie with his wife. If you guys don't know, it's Leighton Meester, from Gossip Girl. They did a movie together where he's like fucking psycho killer. They're out on this like camping thing or whatever, and he has apparently killed somebody in the past, and now they're like, I highly recommend it. I'll try to find the name of it before we end the show, but great movie, and it's the first one that they had done together. And I'm like, man, it's weird because his obsession and how he treats her in the movie, it's like, oh, this loving couple, but he treats her like hardcore in this movie. I'll be like, that must have been interesting dynamic to work with every day. I'm with you though. I loved him, and I think for anybody who does it, when he left Gilmore Girls, that's when he went to OC, and that's like where he really blew up. I think that's where most people know him from, is the OC. So yeah, I'm happy for him. And of course, Kristen Bell, she's just been slaying in damn near everything, so she's awesome.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, now it is time for our top 5 segment, man. And this week, it is going to be all about the indie films. We are indie filmmakers currently, so, you know, we got to support other indie films. And these films are freaking phenomenal. They touch on certain points that, you know, coming of age type things, or, you know, just hardcore drugs, or just certain subject matters that you feel like aren't publicized and mainstream to talk about enough. These films do, so it's always a beautiful conversation. I want to start off with mine. Number 5 goes to mid-90s. This is a A24 film. It was directed by Jonah Hill. It was his directorial debut. And I think this film is beautiful because it's based around a preteen male guy, and he is just trying to figure out his life. So, you know, as a preteen does, he's trying out different stuff. He tries out skateboarding, and he finds that he likes skateboarding. But then he goes to the skate park and finds this older group of kids, not much older, but just a little bit, enough to where he can idolize them. And then, you know, he feels like he finds his people. I feel like that was the overall message in this film, finding your people. And it takes time, and you have to try things even when you don't feel comfortable, because stepping out of that comfort zone actually helps you become the person who you are.
Absolutely.
But mid-90s is a beautiful film, all shot on film. And yeah, I loved every single second of it. And actually might watch it again here soon. But yeah, number 5 for me is mid-90s.
Nice. Okay, my number 5 is also a coming-of-age story, but not the way that you would think. It's also about a legendary all-girl rock band that ends up spawning a whole lot of other people, if you're not familiar. I'm talking about The Runaways, which I just came across. It just happened to pop up on my radar when I was trying to find something to watch. I try to find these like little hidden gems, and this one kind of popped up. And I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't watch it because it stars Kristen Stewart, and I'm not a huge Kristen Stewart fan. I hate to say that. I'm not trying to be mean. Don't come at me with the hate, but I'm just not. I'm not really a fan of her, but I loved her in this movie. I thought she was fantastic. So this is the story of The Runaways is the name of the band, and this is the story of Cherry Curry and Joan Jett, and how they came together and formed the Runaways, and then how eventually jealousy and drug use and all kinds of stuff ended up breaking that band apart. And obviously Joan Jett went on to huge fame on her own, and Lita Ford. If you guys don't know, Lita Ford was a member of the Runaways who went on to become a member of the Bengals. And so, I mean, this thing, and it's loaded with people, not just Kristen Stewart and Dakota Fanning, but Michael Shannon was in this. Riley Keough was in this. Tatum O'Neal, Brett Cullen. Like, it's a huge cast. And it's amazing. But it really dives deep into, because I don't know if a lot of people know, but Cherry Curry was like 15 years old. And the manager that brought them together was like sleazy. He hired her because he basically wanted to get in her pants. She's 15 years old. and put this all girl, and he got them the record deal, but when they got the record deal, when they were signed with the label, and when they were touring, and Cherry got on drugs and alcohol and got into trouble, fame got to her, and it started causing friction. It also hints at, which I thought was very interesting, a potential relationship between Joan Jett and Cherry. And a lot of people say that is indeed true. I don't know if it is or isn't. I feel like if it wasn't true, it would have been taken out of the film because Joan Jett herself was on set every day. She was a consultant on the film, which is why maybe I like Kristen Stewart's performance, because she was playing Joan Jett and Joan Jett was there to tell her how to play Joan Jett. So, I mean, like, it's a legit performance because Joan was right there going, no, bitch, that ain't me. You got to do that one again, kind of a, because if you know Joan Jett, Joan's going to tell you what she thinks. So anyway, my number 5, The Runaways, if you ever get a chance, it's a great story about how they all become who they become and the disbandment of that band and where they all end up. It's a really, really good movie, The Runaways.
Nice, man. Nice. Number 4 for me is honestly one of my favorite films of all time, so I wanted to throw this in there, and it's a very coming-of-age story as well. It's set in the 70s, came out in the 90s, and I'm talking about Dazed and Confused. Man,
yes.
Oh man. This one completely took a lot of the cast members and completely starstruck them. I mean, you have young Ben Affleck, you have Matthew McConaughey's first ever role, first ever thing he's ever said on set or on screen, I should say, is all right.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you have so many others, man. It's great. It's a great film. It's great, it's a great stoner flick. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but it puts me back in being high school and, not worrying about what comes next and just focusing on the now, enjoying the people that you're with. And it's a beautiful coming of age story because life was so free when you didn't have any care in the world. That's for sure. No responsibilities, just having fun, getting into trouble and good trouble. But, just being a kid. That's all it's about, man. So I love that film. I watched this one a lot. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I've watched that one a lot. So my number 4 for me is Dazed and Confused.
I love that, bro, and I love that explanation because, right, when you're a kid, you want nothing more than to be an adult, and when you're an adult, you realize, damn, being a kid was much better.
So great.
Living the life as a kid was so much better. Why did I fucking want to be an adult? And you're right, that film epitomizes that. It's just like a let loose, have fun, be a kid kind of a lifestyle. I love that. My number 4... again, another one that I just came across, but I was really interested to see it because none other than Captain America himself directed it. It was his directorial debut, and I was real curious to see what kind of a director is Chris Evans. This one's called Before We Go, and it's a simple little... I can't call it a rom-com. I can't call it a romance movie or a love story movie because it's really not. His co-star is Alice Eve, and it's basically about... Chris Evans' character, he plays the trumpet, and he's kind of like thing, and he's in the subway, and he's about to go to his best friend's wedding where his ex is going to be, and the ex shot him down when he proposed, and he still thinks there's a shot. Still thinks the proposal just went wrong, or maybe he didn't do so, and he's like, I still got a shot. And then he sees this woman who's trying to catch the train because she's got to get to Boston, and she drops her phone. And she misses the train, and she's all upset, and then somebody steals her purse, and he picks up the busted phone, tries to give it back to her or whatever. Then he says, I'll pay for a cab to get you to Boston, but then his credit card is declined, and then his other credit card is over the limit, and he can't. And then he said, well, let me get you a hotel room, and she's like, I can't, I have to be at Boston. Okay, well, let me see if I can get a car to get you. So they basically end up hanging out the whole night in New York together, and they kind of reveal each other's lives to each other, and they kind of fall in love with each other, and but not. And he slowly learns that her story is she is desperate to get to Boston because her husband cheated on her, but he broke it off, and then she found out that he was gonna rehook up with his mistress. So she wrote him a big ass nasty letter about all that. But then he decided not to hook up with the mistress, and now she doesn't want him to see the letter because she's hoping to save the marriage. And so he finds out about that, and she finds out about the disaster with the proposal and everything. And basically they don't ever get to go to Boston, and they end up staying the whole night. And it's cute. They go into little restaurants. They end up at a party where they pretend to be the band, and they sing, and he plays. But then the real band comes, and they get the fuck out of there kind of. It's just a really fun, what would you do if you're spending the whole night in New York together and you don't really know each other kind of a thing. But she ends up going to the best friend's wedding with him and pretending to be his girlfriend in front of his ex. And then he finds out that he runs out when he sees her because he gets nervous. But she finds out that his ex is pregnant and that it's really over. There's no shot. So she convinces him to go back in and talk to the ex and say, you got to go resolve that because it's over. It's never happening. You got it. She's moved on, kind of a thing. And he does the very nice thing with her about, well, if your husband does see the letter, if you're not able to get to it or whatever, and he doesn't understand why you wrote it, then that's over. You should move on. And if he does understand, then good. You try to fix it. And that's basically it. And then he writes her a little message on the back of a train ticket. She finally gets on the train the next day or whatever, and they share one more little kiss. But I loved it. I thought it was a really interesting, the hijinks that they get into throughout the night. If you've ever been in New York City in the middle of the night, you know, you can get into all kinds of trouble and all different kinds of places and everything. But I thought it was a really well done from a filmmaker aspect by Chris Evans. For a directorial debut, I thought he did a really good job. It paces well. The shots are great. He's a good director, so I hope we see more of his directing in the future. My number 4, before we go.
Nice, man. Nice. My number 3 goes to Desperation Road, and we actually had the director and writer of this film on our show, Nadine Crocker, who we actually just had back on Everything's Okay to talk about suicide prevention. But this film specifically is phenomenal. It is literally one of my favorite indie films that I've ever seen. Like, it's so freaking good. It's just about a mom just trying to run away from an abusive husband who gets into a little bit of trouble just defending herself, but that in turn makes her go on the run, elude the police. I don't want to give too much away, but it is freaking phenomenal. It's got Mel Gibson in it. Everybody's acting is so freaking unique and beautiful, and it's a darker story that there's light at the tunnel no matter what situation you're in. And you know, it's a journey. Life is a journey. Sometimes you're going to be in very shitty situations, and you will come out of it, even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but you will come out of it. And that's what this film is. It's so freaking good. You guys can rent this right now on Amazon.
Yeah.
So be sure to do that, because like I said, it's one of the best indie films that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Desperation Road.
Oh, without doubt. And it's got Garrett Hedlund in it, if you guys are Garrett Hedlund fans. And it's got our friend Ella Thomas in it. So many great people in the cast. But I really liked this one because it's got a unique twist to it. You find something out, and we're not going to spoil it to you because the twist is like an oh shit moment. But it's got a unique little twist in it that you go, oh shit. And you realize how the whole story plays out, and it's just brilliant. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think great pick. My number 3 is also on Amazon. You can rent it and do a Nadine Crocker double feature, because my number 3 is her other independent film, which is also phenomenal and really intense, Continue. And this one is her semi-autobiographical film about suicide. If you guys don't know, Nadine did try to take her own life numerous times in the past and struggled with addiction and mental health problems and cutting, and overcame all of that to now do the life that she's doing and her purpose of trying to help others through it. But this film takes a really stark look at not just suicide, but mental health and how people cope with and sometimes not cope with mental health, and how it addresses how it needs to be talked about more. It's a very intense film. I will warn you all that the first 5 minutes is really hard to get through because of the subject matter. But once you do, you see the story and the importance of this film are it's an amazing film. Nadine is a stellar human being. There's a reason why we both have her on the list at the end and love these movies. She's a phenomenal filmmaker, but she's an even more phenomenal human being, and we love her to death. So yeah, hook yourself up, get on Amazon, do a double feature, continue at Desperation Road, boom, you're good to go. That's our number 3s.
That's right, man. That's right. Number 2 for me, speaking of Heath Ledger earlier in the show, this film is wild. It is titled Candy, and it is an Australian indie film. He liked to go back over to his home country and do those. And this film is wild. It has a lot to do with codependency and codependency with drugs. And it's basically about a couple who are heroin addicts and just try to get by every single day, getting their fix and continuing moving forward. And then realizing that the girl realizes that she needs to separate from him so that she can get her life together. And so I feel like the overall theme of this film is to just examine your life every now and then. Examine the people in your life. Examine your circle. Is there anyone that brings you down? Is there people around you that don't make you feel good? Because everyone around you that you have around you, mentors, friends, anything like that, they should make you feel good. You
Absolutely.
should never feel like you need to do something like use drugs or do something bad. And I think that's what this film really brought out. And, sometimes you don't even realize you're caught up in the mess. But then when you separate yourself from that person, you're like, wow, they are going through their own thing. And I was going through my thing. And we just found something that made us feel good in the time. But to be able to overcome all of that darkness and to come out on the other side, I feel like is so important. It's a hard film to watch. I'm not even going to lie. It's really dark, obviously. But the acting is phenomenal. Cinematography is phenomenal. And it's a beautiful film. So number 2 for me, Candy.
And the irony of the tragic ending to his life would be, you hear that storyline and you hear what it's about, and he tragically did not come out of it on the other side. He did not get away from it. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. My number 2, similar, Short Term 12. This one was with Brie Larson and Caitlin Dever and Rami Malek and just another phenomenal cast. And it's a young Brie Larson and a young Caitlin Dever. She's basically like a 20-year-old, and she's had a really fucked up life and going through a lot of shit. And so now she is a counselor at this residential home where you're deposited involuntarily to try to get treatment for whatever you're kind of going through. And she's about to get married. She's like got her life going, but she's still dealing with some stuff. She's about to get married, make big life changes and all that. And then Caitlin Dever's character comes in, who's really fucked up. And she comes in, and Brie Larson's character sees herself in the child. And it's like, this is bringing up all kinds of things for me, and it dives deep into, is she really overall her stuff? Is she ready for this marriage? Is she ready for these life changes? Is she kind of a thing? And they really do this phenomenal job of blending these two characters and working these two characters together to figure life out. It's a really well done film that takes a really stark look at people coming from fucked up lives and different situations that get them into those spots, and how do you deal with it? And sometimes you don't. And then you have to realize you haven't, and that you've still got work to do, and that's what this film really is. It really paints a picture on that. And I'd highly recommend, if you guys get a chance to check it out. It's a really good one. One of my favorite Brie Larson performances ever. She's phenomenal in this one, and obviously, Caitlin Dever. What is she not good in? She's awesome. So Short Term 12, my number 2.
Yeah, good one. My number 1 goes to Garden State. Zach Braff directed this. If you guys know him from Scrub, he also wrote it. He also starred in it. And then we also had freaking the only. Where is she? I know your name. You're right there. You're right there, Princess Leia, or not Princess Leia, Padme. Where are you? Why are you not
Natalie
listed?
Portman?
Natalie Portman. There we go. Yes. So this film is a big film that revolves around mental health. This is basically a film about feeling like they can't do things without medication. So it's not as far as Candy, but they also feel like they're not able to be normal human beings without medication. So you go through a lot of the process of these people who have really bad anxiety, really bad depression, just wanting to feel okay. And the way they were told to feel okay was through medication, but then they also feel numb and they feel, like they're not themselves anymore. So you're going through this whole process of people just finding themselves again. And especially two people who are going through the same process, finding themselves together, so that they're able to feel comfortable in their own skin around each other. It's honestly a beautiful film, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about this
No,
film.
they don't.
So, I mean, medication can be good, but medication can be bad because medication, it's its own journey. You're not going to find the right thing the first time 90% of the time. So that's the thing. It's a process. You have to continue figuring out how your brain works, how your body works, how things make you feel. So that's really a great example of what this film is. So yeah, number one for me, Garden State.
There you go. I love it. I love it. We've got a little theme going in these films.
I know, not even.
I didn't even realize. No, but I love it. My number one should come as no surprise to any of our listeners that have been with us the whole time. I mention this film more times than I can say because I'm that big of a fan of it. My number one indie film of all time is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I love this movie. I cannot stress enough how much I love this movie. I don't know. Is it the characters? Okay, so it's a brilliant cast. You got Thomas Mann, who plays Greg, who's me. And then you got R.J. Kyler, who plays Earl. And Olivia Cook, who plays Rachel. But you've also got Hugh Jackman. You've got John Bernthal. It's just a freaking amazing cast. Jackman plays himself. And John Bernthal, as he always does, like the scene he's in just steals the whole movie. He's like the principal and he's like giving him weed. And like, it's just a crazy ass. His character is brilliant. But what I love about this, the story is basically these two kids are very socially awkward. They don't hang out. They have no friends other than themselves. And they're filmmakers. And what they do is they shoot recreations of classic Hollywood movies, which that drew me in. I'm like, that is awesome. Let's go make our own version of this classic. So they'll do The Godfather, they'll do whatever. And I thought this is just brilliant. These two filmmakers who are recreating classic movies. But the premise is mom gets a little worried about Greg. It's like, you got to get out there. You got to get some friends. So she introduces him to Rachel, who is dying from leukemia. And she starts hanging out with them, and she loves what they do, and she starts helping with the creative process of their filming and everything. But she is progressively throughout the movie getting worse. The problem is that Greg now has a friend, and he's developed a relationship with her, which comes at odds with Earl because now he wants to hang out with Rachel, and Earl is kind of getting the shaft, which when you only have one friend, and that one friend doesn't want to hang with you, kind of causes an issue. But it's very weird because it is it's a platonic relationship.
Interesting.
It's a platonic relationship between Greg and Rachel, but then also maybe more. Which is how they do that. It's very interesting. But he basically has to watch this now person that he has become very fond of, and now a friend, and who's kind of getting him out of his comfort zone in his shell, die. And then how does he have to deal with that strife in life? It's a stark look again at mental health. What the anxiety that keeps them from having any friends, the social awkwardness. Now we're developing a relationship, so we're learning how to have relationships. How does that affect outside relationships? All these different things that play into this movie. And I'll end it on this. It's got to have one of the most creative filmmaking shots I have ever seen in my life. It's a continuous one shot where they are walking and they are going upstairs into the apartment or whatever room they're in. And as they're walking, the camera, it goes upside down. The whole thing shifts upside down for whatever reason. And it's kind of, it's one of the most interesting shots I've ever seen on film. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they did it with a jib and a crane and where the camera just, I don't know how they pulled it off. But it's a really interesting, and I'm not even sure why it's in it. Like, what is the point? Why is this necessary? But it was so cool. You're like, you don't even care. It's like, okay, that's cool. Was it necessary? I don't know. But it was cool. So, from a filmmaking standpoint, it was pretty badass. So, anyway, if you guys ever check this film out, I guarantee you will love it as much as I do. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. And by the way, Olivia Cooke in that. I mean, if you think she's good on House of the Dragon, or thought she was good on Bates Hotel or anything, freaking phenomenal in this film as the leukemia patient. She is just unreal. And this is another one I wish more people would talk about. It was based on a book. I don't think enough people know that. It's based on a book, but this is one that people don't talk nearly enough about that I think they should see it. You should just see it.
Agreed, man. Agreed. Gotta love the indie genre. That's for sure. Gotta love the
And mental health. Where did that come from? All of these films were basically like stark looks at mental health. Like,
I mean, once you talk about it, you give it less power, and that's freeing. So
yes,
it's all good.
I love that.
Good. But hey, guys, be sure to let us know what your favorite indie film is. Comment below or reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, any of the good places. We love the fan interaction, so we are here for it. That is for sure. But now we're heading over to the box office recap. Of course, we talked about Joker coming in at number 1 with 37 million. The Wild Robot came in at number 2 with 19 million. Beetlejuice came in at number 3 with 10 million. Transformers 1 at 4 with 5.3 million. And Speak No Evil came in at number 5 with 2.8 million. We do have some new movies coming out Saturday night, about the first night of Saturday Night Live. We have Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, re-releasing because they were only showing it in theaters for 2 nights only. So this is the second night.
No. This is a wide release because of the box office success of the first 2 nights.
Oh, really?
Warner Brothers decided to release it wide.
Nice.
So this is like
Fantastic.
a wide release. Yeah.
That's cool. We'll be sure to check that out. We Live in Time, Terrifier 3, and The Apprentice. My bet is that Terrifier 3 will be on top because this franchise has made a good amount of money for not spending a lot of money. It's like a $2.3 million budget, I think it was, that I saw. Saturday night, I would love for it to be number 1, but I mean, films about television never really do well. And I feel like this is a very niche audience. I think it's playing to the older demographic, so I don't think that's going to do amazing. And honestly, The Apprentice is just happy to be here because that thing has been trying to be seen by so many people, or at least trying to be put out by so many people, but a lot of people were like blocking its way.
It's interesting because out of those 5 new movies releasing, 3 of those are potential Oscar nominees. The Apprentice, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and Saturday Night, all potentially Oscar nominees. We Live in Time. I want to see that one. I don't know if enough people have been hearing about this. That's the one with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, if I'm not mistaken. And that one sounds like it's going to be really good, too. And there's an apparently pretty hot love scene in there that got so hot that the boom operator and the director of photography turned away from them while they were doing it because they were embarrassed or felt uncomfortable. Apparently they didn't hear cut. I guess the director said cut, but they didn't hear it. And so they just kept going, and they were so into it. That's what they're saying in these interviews, that they were so into it and it just felt so natural. They just kept going. And it must have been so natural that the DP and the boom operator were like, oh, we're going to just turn around and stare at the wall. We can't watch this right now.
That's wild.
That is hilarious. But so yeah, I'm definitely, I think I'm going to give that one a shot too. I love when there's movies to see. I love that.
Exactly. And then movies you can still go see. Deadpool and Wolverine still in some theaters.
Yep.
My Old Ass, Megalopolis, It Ends With Us, and Reagan, which I'm also surprised is still in theaters.
Yeah, that's the surprise of the season, right? It's making a ton of money, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. I wouldn't be surprised if that one gets a nod.
That'd be interesting.
Right? Because if Hollywood nominated Reagan, I think that would blow people's minds. But I think that's why most people didn't think this would do anything at the box office. But here we are, and it just shows you where the country's at, man. There's a lot of people that still are conservative, and Reagan was the boy. So
right, and it's like that's okay. That's okay.
Exactly.
But you can be conservative. You can be liberal. Just don't be crazy.
Is it though? Think about this. It's so mind blowing to me, right? Because you know how old I am and how I came up, right? That at the same time in theaters, you have Reagan. The conservative, the Reagan Republicans, the Reagan Revolution, one of the most popular presidents of all time, and the new Republican part, MAGA. You've got Trump and Reagan in theaters at the same time. There's such stark differences from where the party was to where the party is, and you have a chance to see both of that in the theaters. That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me.
That'd be an interesting back-to-back, that's for sure.
Oh, yes, it would be. Because it does show you, and I think, honestly, and let's be real, they fought to get this movie released when they were getting it released because of the election right around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
They are trying to show a Trump that they don't want you to vote for. But you're right. If you did a double feature there, you would see how drastic. Maybe a lot of these MAGA people need to see Reagan and go, oh, that's what the Republican Party was. Oh, not this. That would be very interesting. I like that.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like a slam piece. It's not a caricature. I feel like
no, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know, because obviously I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've heard, it's not like a slam piece, so it's going to be very interesting, and I'll bring it up a little bit later when we get on our IMDbPro trending segment, but there's actually a parallel between Trump and one of our TV show topics, so it's kind of funny. So let's get into that, the IMDbPro's top trending segment. Top trending movie is obviously Joker. Everybody's talking about how bad it is. But what I was talking about is top trending TV show is Monsters. Of course, the Eric and Lyle Menendez story. Yeah. I'm watching this thing right now, and it's freaking wild.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. It's really freaking good. But basically, the whole time, even after they killed their parents, they're talking about how proud their parents would be of them. And then I read an article today about The Apprentice, and it was talking about how The Apprentice is basically about a young Trump who is trying to please his never supportive father. That's a parallel, bro. That is a parallel of what could happen and what did happen and all of these different things. Just depends on what road you go down on. And I was just like, ugh, that's wild.
No.
But
so because you brought that up, that's exactly right. It's not a slam piece on Trump. It's actually a slam piece on Roy Cohn, who Jeremy Strong is playing.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that basically made Trump who he is.
Turned him into
when Trump was not doing well or he needed a boost or he needed to... This is the guy that was pulling the strings and manipulating Trump into the Trump that we now have. And so it's a hit piece on Cohn, right? And it almost makes Trump like a victim, from what I understand, from what I've been hearing about it's like if this guy didn't exist, Trump wouldn't be the Trump that we know, right? And so, is that true? Is that not true? We don't know, but we do know the stuff that they say about Cohn is true. He was that guy. He was that monster. And, how much he did or did not manipulate Trump, I'm sure Trump will deny, but... that's what it is. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But, they've got stuff in this movie about when he goes to get hair plugs and when he gets liposuction, which I'm sure Trump is not going to be happy with. But, But, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm glad you brought that up because it's more of a hit piece on Cohen than it is on Trump. So,
yeah, exactly. And then, of course, the top trending star is Adam Brody for his success on Netflix. We love to see it. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to 273 of Inside the Crazy Ant Farm. We appreciate every single one of you. So thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Yes.
be sure to follow the company on social media at Crazy Ant Media. You can follow this podcast on social media at ITCAFpodcast. And then, of course, our mental health podcast at Everything's OKP on social media. So be sure to do that. And then, of course, you can follow us both personally on social media. Myself at J. Logan Austin and
At Crazy Ant CEO.
yes, that's right. That's right. And of course, subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, so much more. If you're watching this video on YouTube, we appreciate it. Hit that like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media. And then, of course, you can visit our website as well, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can start rocking the latest and greatest Crazy Ant Media gear. We have a little something for a little of everybody, so be sure to check that out. And man, oh man, what a great week to be back. I love it. I love it. But I think my favorite part of the show was actually talking about the Oscar race.
Yeah.
Because I am scared. I am scared for viewership for ABC because we are Disney guys.
Yeah.
So, like, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a record low. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think it's gonna be a record low.
Okay, that's a bold prediction.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree with you unless they can land Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
If they can
That's the
land
only
them
thing.
as the host, then we might see a boost in the ratings. But if they cannot, then yeah, I'm right there with you. I think because they've already
Jackman
done the
and Reynolds or Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez.
They would be great. Yes.
They would be awesome too.
They would be. That would be a really fun one as well. But what are they going to do theme-wise? That's my thing because they did the most epic one the last time when they were, was it the Salute to Classic Hollywood? And that was brilliant. I loved that. But how do you, I mean, I don't know. How do you follow that? Because you're definitely not doing anything like that if you get Jack and Reynolds. Like, no, God knows what that theme's going to be. But, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a little worried. I mean, because the Oscars aren't what they used to be. It used to be the night. Everybody tuned in. And it was like a can't miss type thing. And now it's like, do we watch it or not kind of a thing. We do because we're filmmakers and we love it. But, how do you keep that general audience? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. If you have the answers, let us know. Comment below in the YouTube comment section or add us on Twitter, Threads, all the good places.
Yes.
Or maybe the one and only knows. Maybe she knows how to do it.
Maybe she should host.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys know who we're talking about. The one, the only,
Oprah!